Yep, so it snowed on April 23rd and 24th. The basil in the house here in the makeshift nursery would love some more heat and some more sun. After it snowed, it went back to raining, and at one point I had a chance to pull off the Agrabah row cover and take a look at the plants that I had direct seeded. Sugar snap peas, with the sugar and variety coming up faster than the super sugar snap. Looking at the small trial plots, it doesn't look like there's any carrots, but there's actually finally some coming up. And the spinach survived the cold too, but they're not growing very fast. This is the arugula patch. On the east side, the red dragon variety is finally coming up, but on the west side, the speedy, which came up so fast, now seems to be just waiting for better weather. And same thing with the radishes, which don't seem to have grown much in a week. And no potatoes. Yet. Let's take a look at the starts that I have going in the greenhouse. The scallions look fine, and so does the lettuce, but the kale has irregular growth. Maybe some of them got a head start when the weather was better back in March. Hey, so the weather's been really sucking. Um, this isn't really super unusual for April. April could be just like crappy, and that weather we had in March. I mean, it can be kind of sometimes a little bit nice, like and then it gets you thinking that it's going to be really great, and then it's really not, because then April turns crappy and cold. But I don't know. Feels like it might be a little bit extra cold, extra more normal, extra more cold than normal. I've been mostly laying around watching Star Trek, but I did get a couple of loads of soil mix done, and so I'm going to work on one more. That's probably all I'll get done when I put this video out. But then I can kind of get on kind of filling around that garden bed outside and then start moving the soil out there. It cracks me up that I remember back when I got back from Eugene, Oregon, at the end of February or whenever it was, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta get the snow off the side of the greenhouse, and so that we can move it, and oh my gosh, I gotta get a garden bed built out there so I can get the soil. And now it's like the end of April, and I'm just getting to that. We've got a patch of really nice weather coming up, so I think maybe spring is finally happening for us here in Alaska. I've also been thinking about greenhouses. I've been thinking quite a long time. My original site plan had, like 4 greenhouses on the north boundary, and they were going to be like movable. You could lift them up and move them over. I got that idea from a video of a talk by Elliot Coleman, where he kind of covers greenhouses.
As we've experimented with movable greenhouses, we've done all sorts of different designs. We had a design for a while where we had a wheel on the bottom of each hoop that rolled on a pipe lying on the ground. Each of those wheels, depending on where we got them, was about 25 to 35 bucks a piece. This is a wheelbarrow wheel. We now move every greenhouse on the farm with this same set of wheels. We wanted to make greenhouses that were even less expensive and easier to move. Take the plastic off of that thing. That's made out of 4 little homemade sections of greenhouse.
Just a few months ago, Tyler was saying, well, why don't we just get, a big greenhouse and you can roll it around on wheels? And I was kind of like, well, yeah, that would be, that'd be cool. But I was kind of thinking about going more like low tech, and then that got me to thinking that, there's a couple people here on Wrangell Island that have gotten high tunnels, or essentially greenhouses, through USDA grant. And when I was at that meeting the other day, the Farmers Summit that was in Sitka, and Maria Byford went over that information. They were saying, hey, yeah, that grant program is still ongoing. So that got me thinking, well, shoot, rather than us buying a greenhouse on wheels, maybe I should try and get a grant to put that in. And then that's really got, then just looking at these plants and having to deal with them being outside and having to be under row cover just to keep them warm, and they're just kind of, they're growing though, so that's the thing. It's like, as long as I could have them under cover, and be so much easier to work around them and with them, and not have to worry about the weather if they were in a big greenhouse. So I'm kind of thinking about going that direction. Anyway, whatever. Blah blah blah. I've got just this little bag of peat moss left, and then I've got. I think I'm gonna have to start into this new one that I dug out yesterday, and start making some one more batch of soil mix for transplants. And yeah, anyway. And I should have been doing this the whole time I was talking, but you know what? I can hardly do two things at once, so here we go. So yeah, the whole greenhouse thing. I mean, there's we got lucky with the weather in March, because it was like we had record temperatures and it was sunny day after day, and so we had a chance to go ahead and till that seaweed in and everything. And but normally that sort of thing wouldn't happen in March, and so then shoot so if I had a greenhouse, it would be dry, and I could, even if I wasn't tilling later on, I would just be like, doing the broad fork and tilting. So it would allow me to do that. And also then, like later, when it's pouring down rain, it's really muddy, I could still be like, okay, well, now I need to direct seed some stuff, or oh, I need to plant some transplants out. And a lot of this stuff, it's cold weather stuff. It'll grow. It doesn't, it's okay with that. And but it would be dry enough for me to do that. And then, if I needed extra warmth, because it's not going to be a heated greenhouse, if I needed extra warmth at night, I could just throw some row cover over the little guys, but then it could come off, during the day. And that's the other thing, that I have row cover on there for, is because there are birds that cause problems. So the ravens like to, if you transplant out something little, they like to come around and pluck them out. Now, I haven't seen quite as many ravens around here as other places that I've gardened, but they're around here. And then also, I just saw the other day, this bird, and there's a couple down, live south of us. What is that place called? Anyway, Myers Chuck, and they talk about these, what they call scratchers, that come around and they'll just scratch out your seeds, and I saw a couple of birds over by the compost bins the other day that were scratching around in some of the seaweed that had fallen out of the compost bins, when I was taking them on the wheelbarrow out in the garden. And so, so I have to cover my, if I've just direct seeded. I don't know if those birds will be a problem if, the seeds have sprouted, they're germinated and now they're up and stuff like that. But, and the ravens probably wouldn't even bother them either. And I don't even know if then a pest would want to get in, like, they probably want more of a mature plant if they're gonna, like the caterpillars that like have their little cocoons and shit like that. So, but I mean, anyway, it just makes me nervous. Well, I know that when you put kale out, and I don't know when the flies decide how, mature the plant is. They want to, do their little larva thing, or whatever it is that they do. Maggot thing, or whatever flies do. So I've always kept my kale. I had root maggot problem one time at the community garden, that I had some plants there, and community garden. I had some beds at the community garden, and got root maggot. And so then, they say, oh, just you got to keep them under cover. through like beginning of June or something like that. I always feel sorry for them because it actually starts getting a little bit warm, and yeah. So that would be, trying to think of other reasons, but there's a lot of reasons to have a full succession, early succession of plants going into a greenhouse, and then being able to move that greenhouse off, like Farragut Farm does. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Farragut Farm. If you watch that video where, the Farmer Summit recap, we talk at the end about visiting Farragut Farm, and that was supposed to be in May, but it looks like it's going to be end of August just because they're going to be so busy, harvesting and stuff like that. So, August 31st is the date that we have now, and so far I think we have, well, about a dozen people interested in going, so yay. Yeah, getting down to the very bottom of this thing. Oh yeah, so I wasn't really joking about the watching Star Trek thing. I actually caught another cold recently because I ran my system down so bad. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. And so yeah, I kind of get this after thing, and so I was just like beat and laying around watching Star Trek.
You are not a violent offender, Tuvok.
I could be. Just like Suter. You know, Captain, I don't mind telling you something the other Tuvok never would. You are wrong. Sparing Suter's life is a sign of weakness. You disgust me.
Oh, don't say that, Tuvok. You're not yourself right now.
All you humans do.